Yo, what is up, YouTube? We got the Avengers Doomsday breakdown. Now, I did the trailer already. No, I didn't record it. I was too excited to see what happened, what came out. I was just laying in bed and I was freaking the fuck out. It was a great reaction. I know you're pissed that I didn't post it, but I am happy that I get to watch the breakdown. We get to see all the theories and everything that there is to be in this movie right now, that could possibly be in this movie. So forgive me, please, and let's get straight into this. We got new rock stars here as well.
Fighting them.
Hold on. All right, new rock stars. Let's go.
Wait a minute, I've seen that rune before. I'm Eric Voss of the New Rockstars channel, and this is a breakdown of the Avengers Doomsday trailer. From Dr. Doom actor Robert Downey Jr.'s Latvian accent to Avengers teaming up with X-Men and fighting them, forming our wildest crossover dreams come true. There's so much to break down here. This footage has been living rent-free in my brain since I saw a version of it at a preview event in April, but now that I can go through it frame by frame, I can't believe how many more details I was able to spot. There's even this new shot of Loki in his TVA ID badge that I've never seen before, and I could do an hour on it. In this video, I'm going to cover everything you might have missed from this Doomsday trailer. Let's go. What am I wearing? You just asked inappropriately. Well, this is our Open Your Eyes Doomsday inspired design, available exclusively at our merch store, nerdriot.shop. Hey, if you have a New Rockstar shirt like this, take a selfie of yourself wearing it, post it, tag us, and we will shout you out in a video. Like Julie Sherwood, who got her friend Clinton Greenspan one of our Daredevil shirts for his birthday.
It's Daredevil stuff. No, I've always wanted this shirt specifically. I don't think I've even told you this.
No, but you asked me when I said I got a Daredevil shirt. Yeah, it was, yeah.
I like this, but I gotta skip it.
Opens youngsters for shot of the
No, thank you so much.
The trailer opens with this shot of the metal placard that we've seen outside the X-Mansion. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, 1407 Gray Malkin Lane.
Bro, who just watched Marvel back then, bro? Back in the early 2000s when it was ruling. 2008, Iron Man and the Hulk. And then you reach more, then you get the X-Men and Wolverine. And then you just see everything, bro. Hugh Jackman, we just love you, bro. And then we also get to see in the movie. Do we see Storm? I don't think we saw Storm. At least I don't remember seeing Storm. I hope she's in there. And if she is, who you guys think they brought Holly Berry back for Storm, or the new girl that was inside of the? She was in the Apocalypse movie, but I don't think they brought her back.
Salem Center, Westchester County, New York. The exact address of the X-Mansion from the Fox X-Men movies. We last saw these Fox-era X-Men in their continuity in 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. In that film, Wolverine went back in time by consciousness hopping back into his younger body in the year 1973 to erase and rewrite a dystopian future, which he did, and found himself in a seemingly pleasant 2024 with all of the X-Men who died in the earlier X-Men films alive again, including Charles Xavier, Scott Summers Cyclops, and Jean Grey. Only Wolverine remembered what the alternate history would have looked like, and arguably Professor X after the two debriefed. That X-Men universe's numerical designation is Earth 10005. Since that movie, we learned in Deadpool and Wolverine that Deadpool's universe is
doing the whole universe numbering thing. I feel like it definitely started around into Across the Spider-Verse. I don't think it started. I definitely don't think it started before that. No. It did start before that. Or did it start in Multiverse of Madness, or did it start in Across the Spider-Verse? I think that it started with, from what I'm guessing, Across the Spider-Verse, but I feel like in Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, when he was traveling throughout the universes, he definitely probably mentioned, I just contradicted myself. He probably mentioned universe numbering. That might be the case. I'm not too sure, though. It could have happened, but I'm not too sure if it did happen.
is that same universe, and in that universe, Wolverine is the anchor being of it. An anchor being is an individual whose death triggers the beginning of the end of that universe. Deadpool and Wolverine ended with Deadpool finding a different Wolverine, the drunk Wolverine, to take the place of the one who died in the events of the Logan film, and according to B15, that universe was healthy once more. But now it's one of 3 universes colliding in this film in this incursion event. 10005, 616, and 828. We don't know yet if anchor beings will factor into the Doomsday plot, but we also don't know at this point if Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Who else's life was just feeling so calm and peaceful when Deadpool and Wolverine came out? I felt like things were just like, it just felt so peaceful during that time. And then, at least for me, I was just like heavily focused on what I think it was summertime, so I was just going to the gym all day, and I don't know, just having Deadpool and Wolverine for a nice like cheat day outing type of thing, and just going there and then watching the movie and watching everything that it brought. It was just a breath of fresh air, and also seeing first of all seeing Blade again. Yo, that was something in itself. I really can't get over that movie, and it was amazing. They had a really great score, and throughout the time when I was watching it, I just I was just thinking back, like, damn, they really brought back Johnny Storm. I was like, damn.
Will appear in Doomsday, but along with all of these other returning X-Men, there is a still alive Wolverine somewhere amongst them. And here it is. We hear Robert Downey Jr.'s voice as Dr. Victor Von Doom.
Something's coming. Something we may not be able to deter. Before this day is done, we shall be faced with an unthinkable decision.
So this is Downey's take on a Latvian accent. Latveria is not a real country, and its exact geography often changes depending on which Marvel title we see the map in, but it's generally understood to be Eastern Europe. When we've heard voice actors play Dr. Doom in the past, like Paul Dobson in Fantastic Four World's Greatest Heroes, and in other media, Maurice LaMarche in Ultimate Spider-Man and Avengers Assemble, or Ross Marquand very briefly in X-Men 97, they tend to go with a generic, let's say, Romanian accent. Interestingly, Sebastian Stan is Romanian and can speak Romanian. I wonder if he consulted with Robert Downey Jr. on how to do this exactly. Dr. Doom is, of course, considered Marvel's greatest villain. At first an enemy to the Fantastic Four, actually a one-time college rival to Reed Richards, who went on to become ruler of Latveria, tinkering away in his Doomsday castle as he masters both science and magic. A South by Southwest London event earlier this year included various references to Doom's Latvian origin. Vladimir Fortunov was the name of the cruel Latvian dictator who ruled the country before Victor Von Doom overthrew him. The rapprochement refers to an annual Latvian festival where traditionally Latvians seek to make peace with their
Coffee or any other establishment just like gets involved with the show or with the movie. It's just like a nice involving kind of. It's just like, wow, you guys are really jumping on. It's like when Invincible opened that one restaurant, the burger restaurant, for like a day, and people were just going there eating the burgers. Bro, if I could just teleport there and just get one, that would be so fire, man.
enemies celebrated in honor of the death of Doom's mother, Cynthia Von Doom. Cynthia Von Doom was his mother, and in certain retcons of his backstory, Dr. Doom lost his mother in a bad deal with Mephisto, and his pursuit of science and magic was all motivated by a mission to get her back from Mephisto. The Zephyro refers to the clan that Doom's parents, his mother Cynthia and his father Werner, were a part of, the clan that Victor would later lead in overthrowing Vladimir Fortunov, and Hassenstadt is the original name of the Doomstadt, the capital of Latveria. When Doom overthrew Fortunov, he renamed it Doomstadt after the family name of his mother and father. So the Russo brothers and Marvel head Kevin Feige have confirmed that Avengers Doomsday and its 2027 follow-up film Avengers Secret Wars are confirmed to be adapting the Jonathan Hickman comic storyline Time Runs Out that leads into the 2015 Secret Wars crossover event in which Dr. Doom is the primary villain of it.
I'm actually so interested in seeing how Marvel brings together a lot of things because we were so confused throughout the whole basically story of post Endgame and the everything that came after that with the shows, the movies that I guess didn't really build up to anything because of the case with Jonathan Majors, and then they had to cut out Kang, and then now we just have Doomsday, which I'm not complaining about, but it's just seems like a lot of loose ends are might not be tied up, and I'm really interested in seeing how they're gonna like explain some things because I'm really lost, especially with Loki now, because Loki's whole thing, his whole most of his story, no, his whole story was based around what Kang did and setting him up. So now I'm wondering like what's his place gonna be right now. But I know he's probably gonna go into it and explain it more into the video. But I am gonna, be wondering while I'm inside of my movie chair and sitting down and watching this, like what kind of loose ends do we got right here?
Doom begins this story in a race against time to locate all molecule men in every universe. Owen Reese, Molecule Man, sort of functions as the anchor being of that storyline, on a mission to save the multiverse from incursions that are destroying every universe. Doom first presents himself under a secret identity known as Rabam Alal, masquerading as a multiverse messiah to fool the religious faction known as the Black Swans. But at some point, Dr. Doom uses Owen Reese to absorb the power of the Beyonders and become God Emperor Doom with absolute power over a new Earth that he builds out of the fractured pieces of the other realities shattered by incursions, a new Earth known as Battleworld. We feel pretty confident that Marvel is working toward that power up by Doom because they put the exact comic where that happens in both the movie of Deadpool and Wolverine and its first trailer, Secret Wars #5. For the Dr. Doom in this movie, Joe Russo said at CinemaCon in April,
Victor Von Doom is the greatest Marvel villain of all time. Yes, he is greater than Thanos, but he's not simply a villain. He's one of the most complex Marvel.
My biggest regret this year so far is that I didn't go to the San Diego Comic Con. That is one of my biggest, suckiest regrets this year. I really wish that I could have gone there and I made time to go there. I just didn't. I don't know, I guess things were just blocking me, but it sucks that I couldn't make it to the Comic Con because I really, really wanted to go so bad. So bad. And it sucks that I didn't get to go.
Characters. He's a scientist, a technologist, a genius, a magician. And he's always 3 moves ahead of even the most brilliant heroes, which is what makes them virtually unbeatable.
Shout out to Brandon Davis for that footage, give him a follow. But by describing Dr. Doom as a scientist, technologist, genius, and magician, Russo clearly wants us to think of...
So is Doom just somebody that doesn't, like, is he a man of no introductions? Like he doesn't need any introduction. There's no building up to him. We're just jumping straight into this because obviously with Thanos we had the build up, but Doom we're just jumping straight into it, and I can see that. I can get with that, and I definitely want to see how that plays out. So I'm not really complaining about this, but I'm just saying, is he a man of no introductions, or like how are we gonna find that out?
This iconic list of modifiers.
Take that off. What are you? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yes, he is his world's Tony Stark, born into different circumstances with a different name. When Downey was first announced, he and the directors explained it.
Genius, billionaire, playboy.
Of this iconic
Unbeatable.
Shout out to Brandon Davis for that footage, give him a follow. But by describing Dr. Doom as a scientist, technologist, genius, and magician, Russo clearly wants us to think of this iconic list of modifiers.
Take that off. What are you? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yes, he is his world's Tony Stark, born into different circumstances with a different name. When Downey was first announced, he and the directors explained it this way.
New mask. Same task.
The same task we've all been assuming is what Tony Stark dreamed of in Avengers Age of Ultron.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
So when we hear Doom's line now in the trailer, it does sound like a warning to someone he loves, someone he's trying to get in the mindset of making a difficult sacrifice. In recent months, we've learned of British actress Matilda Firth being cast as a little girl in Avengers Doomsday. She has quite a resume, including Disney's Disenchanted. Some have been wondering...
She's probably going to play his daughter. And I do remember seeing a mural inside of the trailer. So I can see this little girl playing the daughter from Endgame.
If she could be a variant of Morgan Stark, in this case, Dr. Doom's daughter. On Father's Day, Robert Downey Jr. posted yet another one of his Dr. Doom holiday-themed Instagram posts that indicated that this Dr. Doom will in this movie, or maybe once did before this movie.
I don't know if the mural was in the trailer or I saw it somewhere else. So do not come at me for thinking the mural was somewhere in the trailer. I might have saw that bitch somewhere else.
Again, have a child. Actually, the official poster for this movie seems to confirm that, showing Dr. Doom looking at this huge tapestry and what I assume is a Doomstot, showing what I assume is his child, and Doom looking at this huge tapestry and what I assume is a Doomstot, showing what I assume is his child and maybe his wife in this heavenly pose above an earth surrounded by angels. Maybe in this movie they're going to change it from Doom's mother to his wife being named Cynthia. And the focus on the globe here, I think, will speak to Doom's obsession with an entire armored Earth and building a perfect utopian Earth that he calls Battleworld, using the pieces of these 3 other Earths. Alternatively, this tapestry could show a young Victor with his mother Cynthia, whom he now prefers to see as living with the angels when she's actually in hell with Mephisto. Actually, in alternate timelines of the comics, Dr. Doom has a daughter with Sue Storm, a daughter named Valeria. An interest in a child of Sue Storm could explain Doom's interest in Franklin Richards in the post-credit scene.
Fuck, I just got spoiled, but I already knew this. I haven't seen Fantastic Four yet. I'm gonna watch it. I'm promising I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it this week. I'm not sure which day this week. I actually started watching it and I did not finish it, and it was something I wanted to see in theaters, which is probably why I'm so distant towards it now, because I couldn't make it to the theater. But I'm gonna watch it this week. I already see, I guess it's too late now to know the nice post credit scene, but that's okay. That's my fault, and I'll take accountability on that. However, I definitely did know before in the comics that Sue Storm and Doctor Doom hooked up, and did he say they had a kid or not? Whatever he said, I remember that they hooked up, and I think this was on the Battle World thing that he mentioned before, where Doctor Doom basically becomes God Emperor Doom. I do remember seeing that inside the comics. Forgot like what year I read that though.
Of Fantastic Four First Steps, and why it was so important that it was Sue in that scene and not Sue and Reed, or just Reed. Joe Russo also saying 3 moves ahead of even the most brilliant heroes is also a reference to chess, a game played by Professor X and Magneto, specifically in the 3rd teaser that we saw in December. And Dr. Doom is often depicted as a chess master. And
why is Professor X always getting done in the worst fucking ways possible? Like, the only time I seen him in a movie where he's not getting done dirty was probably when we saw Logan for the first time, or in Logan and the X-Men for the first time. After that, or I'm trying to remember what movie after that where Professor X just became like a nice little throwaway object for like a lot of writers. He died in... Did he die? He died in Days of Future Past for sure. And then he died he died in Logan. He got done horribly in Multiverse of Madness. And then he was in Apocalypse, but he was younger. It's usually the young version of him that's okay, but the older versions of him, he's getting done horrible. He also died in the X-Men movie with the Phoenix. He also died then. So I really like the old man Professor X, but I feel maybe they're going in a different direction than him, because the younger actor, I don't even know if he's going to be in these movies anymore.
chess, you often have to make sacrifice plays. Now, in the lead up to South by Southwest London, the Russo brothers also revealed the official Latvian flag sigil for this movie. And we should note that it is different than the sigil on the Latvian flag that we saw at the Future Foundation in Fantastic Four First Steps. I think that was a former heraldry of the country, and the reason why it's new now is that Victor Von Doom has successfully staged a coup d'etat. It was supposed to be Vladimir Fortunov attending this Future Foundation conference, the former dictator, but the civil war back home is what led to his absence. We see Professor X at the X Mansion in his wheelchair, looking out one of the windows and shielding his eyes. In the window beyond, you can see the blue rim of another spherical atmosphere in the sky, and now a fiery rift tears into this atmosphere. This is an incursion, what it looks like from the ground level.
I was about to say excursion or accursion, but it's an incursion.
John Krasinski's Reed Richards described in Multiverse of Madness when two incursion, what it looks like from the ground level. What John Krasinski's Reed Richards described in Multiverse of Madness when two or more Earths from alternate realities collide and destroying one or both completely. The fact that their atmospheres are colliding tells us that these three Earths will have open rifts among each other, allowing characters to move among the three as the countdown continues to their cores merging. In many shots of the X Mansion and Avengers Tower, you'll notice the sky is this kind of red-orange color. That is what it looks like with an alternate Earth appearing in red in the sky in the Hickman comics. In the third teaser, we saw that this version of the X Mansion has been heavily damaged, but it is also
you just coming in, you lost some of your best guys, some of your best dudes that you had with you throughout the war, your best niggas, and all you got are these. You got Bucky, okay, not good enough for Doom. You got the new Captain America, and then you got the new Avengers, and then pretty much all he really has is the Sentry. And didn't they lock up the Sentry after, or put him back to sleep after whatever the movie was called? I forgot. But they locked him up afterwards. And then who else is next? Wanda's dead, and who knows where the fuck Hulk and Spider Man are? If they're even gonna be in this movie, because I did hear something that they might not be, and they better fucking be, because Spider Man literally needs to set up Doomsday. I don't get, if Spider Man is literally next week, why have Spider Man come and then Doomsday? You shouldn't really give a fuck about when Doomsday comes or when Spider Man gets released, if especially if it's in the same year and he's not even in the same movie. I feel like he has to be in the same movie. He has to be in Doomsday. It doesn't make sense. But so my original point being about what kind of team Thor has, it doesn't matter if, I don't know, Bucky gets like 40,000 shots of super soldier serum. He ain't doing shit to Doctor Doom. It literally, it doesn't make sense. Oh, I really hope they do something.
Been modified from the last time we saw it with more stained
No, we got Steve back. It just clocked. We got Steve back.
Glass than the Windows had in past times we've seen it. As we hear the "before this day is done" part of Doom's quote, we see our first shot of Dr. Doom with his metal mask, his metallic clasps, and this green hooded cloak. He's kneeling in this exterior location with various statues and these broken satellite dishes that I think is
Hold on, I'm getting a drink. Quite parched.
outside the X Mansion. You'll notice behind him is that same hazy red sky with the tinted sun forming a lens flare past his head and a green circle at the far left-hand side of the lens flare. This circular cape clasp has been featured in a lot of banners and poster art for Dr. Doom, and I think it might be a source of his magical runic protection over his armor.
Fuck. 1 second. I'm a dick. I know. But I'm not leaving you. I'm still here. Guys. Alright, let's get back. Oh shit.
The far left-hand side of the lens flare. This circular cape clasp has been featured in a lot of banners and poster art for Dr. Doom, and I think it might be a source of his magical runic protection over his armor. There's certainly some kind of magical enchantment on Doom's armor, especially if it can block Thor's Stormbreaker at the end of the trailer. This green glow from the lens flare might be caused by the light refracting through whatever magical barrier he has around himself. Another interesting detail, on Doom's shoulder pauldron, you can see another red-tinted light source being reflected behind us. So rather than suns, we might be seeing two red Earths in different parts of the sky of wherever this is. So for anybody asking for a visual of what incursions will look like, imagine the red crescent in the sky beyond the staircase of the Sanctum Sanctorum in the post-incursion universe in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Imagine that, but also imagine three spheres or three bubbles that have all collided like a triple spherical Venn diagram with overlapping sections, like three bubbles that have found their way into each other, forming a Mickey. That would allow the atmospheres of all three Earths to be shared, and you could look up from the ground of one Earth up through a rift where those bubbles overlap and see the tops of buildings of another Earth looking down at you. Basically, as these three cores merge into each other, broken fragments will be sucked up to form a fourth Earth that will be called Battleworld. Here we see the new Avengers Tower. It's the tower 14 months after Thunderbolts, when Val was in the process of turning it into the Sentry Watchtower.
So genuinely, what is gonna be left? If our Earth is gonna be in this, especially but the one we usually watch, like 616, that's our prime. If that one is involved, then what next? Are we all just gonna move to a new one? That's a lot of ruins, and a lot, like, especially for Battleworld, especially how it looks then. Let me go back to it.
Will be sucked up to form a fourth Earth that will be
like this. This would be what we would have left. What a world! Like, are we? Unless it's gonna introduce more heroes. I don't even think they're gonna be able to. They literally need like a Deus ex fucking machina to take away all of this shit and bring us back. And they need a wish from somebody.
called Battle World. Here we see the new Avengers Tower. It's the tower 14 months after Thunderbolts, when Val was in the process of turning it into the Sentry Watchtower. That reconstruction was still underway throughout the Thunderbolts film, but now it has been completed. We actually saw this structure from a distance in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, in Episode 1, and in Episode 7. It's
I just started The Punisher. And it's good. Episode 1 was really good.
same white A on the red field that we saw in the blast door, the penthouse level at the beginning of the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. Why does the tower have this lobster claw shape? What are these extra thinner sections even serving? Well, remember that there was this line in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene.
And now there's this huge space crisis and no one's telling us about it.
We're running out of space already? It's impossible. This building is enormous.
Outer space.
Outer space.
Run a threat analysis. I want to...
Where are the Eternals? I literally forgot about them. Where the fuck are they? What the fuck? I actually just forgot about the Eternals. Where the fuck are the Eternals? Where the fuck are the Eternals? Whoa. The last thing I remember is that they got took into space. And then the dude threw himself into the sun, wherever the fuck that meant. And then, the rest of them got took into space by the Celestial. And then isn't there literally a dead Celestial somewhere? Is anybody ever going to acknowledge that shit? They literally have a dead Celestial on some part of the earth right now. And nobody's acknowledging that shit in any movie I've seen so far.
Full report.
Yeah, before the Fantastic Four ship even showed up, there was another huge space crisis that no one was telling the new Avengers about. I think it was an early sign of one of these incursions, and I think these higher sections of Avengers Tower serve as an...
I don't know. I feel like the other huge thing should be the big-ass Eternal that appeared on Earth. I feel like that should be something huge. I don't know. And then I really hope, I know this is kind of out there, that Wonder Man wasn't just like some one-off shit, because that was a really, really good fucking series. Very good. It was a really, really good, amazing series that I do like, and I cannot wait for season 2 if there is one.
10A to connect with satellites that allow them to observe things in orbit. Behind Avengers Tower, that very tall building, is the JP Morgan Chase World Headquarters, a rather new skyscraper completed in our world in 2025. A circular door opens and we see the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards in this cool white jacket, Johnny Storm and Sue Storm in blue jackets, and Ben, no jacket. Thor walks behind them carrying Stormbreaker. They seem to be coming from their spaceship that we saw in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, and though we don't see him in this shot, I think Steve Rogers is in the back there. And Herbie also, of course, would be with them. I'll explain this shot. I think Steve Rogers is in the back there. And Herbie also, of course, would be with them. I'll explain why later in the video. But we know Thor starts with the Fantastic Four from this shot alone. In the second teaser, we see Thor with his adopted daughter, Love, Chris Hemsworth's real-life daughter, India Rose Hemsworth, who was originally the dead daughter of Gore the God Butcher, resurrected by the reincarnated form of Eternity into Love. But he seems to lose her in this movie because he prays to Odin in a forest location for her safety. Now they walk into the Avengers Tower penthouse to see Captain America suited up with the shield strapped to his back, Bucky Barnes wearing his new suit from the Thunderbolts post-credit scene with the red star on the sleeve, and Scott Lang in his Ant-Man suit. A wide shot of this room where this orange-colored sunlight streaks in from the sky shows the full assembly. On the left, the Thunderbolts, aka...
What the fuck is he wearing right here, bro? Like, what is all of this shit right here?
The new Avengers, with John Walker in his new beret, Red Guardian Alexei Shostakov in his product-covered jumpsuit. Behind them both, barely visible in the frame on the far left, that's actually Bob Reynolds, Louis Pullman, aka Sentry, wearing the same socks with sandals that he was wearing in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, reading Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, A Way of Being. To the right of Alexei is Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes with his new outfit, and Ava Starr, Ghost. On the right are the old Avengers, Scott Lang, Sam Wilson, and Thor. And again, I think Steve Rogers is also in this room, just hidden from view or framed out of this shot. But in the middle, on that raised platform by the screen wall, are the Fantastic Four, Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben. On this screen wall, the same screen where the Thunderbolts saw the Fantastic Four ship arriving, is a visual display that I'm assuming comes from Reed or Herbie's computer explaining this incursion crisis. 3 blue Earths connected by lines in the center. This visual comes directly from Reed's multiverse explanation in Jonathan Hickman and Steve Epstein's New Avengers Volume 3, Number 2 from 2013, where Reed explains to the Illuminati incursions and almost a word-for-word explanation of what John Krasinski's Reed Richards echoed from the Illuminati Illuminati dais in Multiverse of Madness. On the left of the screen, you can see another diagram showing how these three Earths are also just half circles now with their cores exposed. Reed is demonstrating how all three of these Earths are going to be damaged, broken apart, but it seems to be their magnetic cores that are being drawn together. Each of the exposed cores are color-coded, blue, red, and yellow, which correspond to the blue, red, and yellow circles on the right side of screen. Interesting, not represented as a color green, which seems to be the color of Doom in this movie, maybe the color tone to his new battle world that forms. There's also a digital countdown beneath that image, like the countdown clock that Marvel has had on their YouTube channel, showing how much time they have left until this incursion process is complete. And I think another bit of dialogue from this scene was teased last night with the weekly every Sunday at 7 tweet of the Fantastic Four that finally, after 75 weeks, was updated.
We make a point to do family dinner every week. Sunday at 7, on the dot, no matter what.
How long do we have?
Not long.
That is creepy as hell. Really what we're seeing here is a meeting of the minds where all the heroes are recognizing this incursion crisis, but there's nothing on the screen about Dr. Doom. I assume that Sue Storm must see Dr. Doom as relevant to the crisis if he took their son. In this movie, 3 Marvel universes are colliding. Earth 616, that's the MCU we've known since Iron Man, Earth 10005 from the X-Men and Deadpool movies, and Earth 828, the Fantastic Four universe of First Steps. In Multiverse of Madness, we learn that an incursion is when multiple universes collide and destroy each other. In the 838 universe, incursions could be caused by using dark magic from the Darkhold to dreamwalk into the body of your variant. But why are these incursions happening? Well, this movie could say it's just a natural flow of the multiverse for this kind of thing to happen. Or this movie could try to link everything since Endgame and say that a number of breaches and violations to space-time and reality all put cracks in the dam. When Steve...
And that's where my boy Loki comes in, being the freaking god of stories. That's where he comes in. And it wouldn't probably make sense for him to come in and do that. And that's probably why they have a place for him. Because he definitely had to appear in one of these movies, with, whether it was King or whatever the hell.
Rogers decided to stay in the past when Doctor Strange and Spider-Man tinkered with the runes of Call spell in No Way Home universe. And what he...
The fuck?
Mansion he's destroying, but I think it's from a different...
That was my mistake.
Everything since Endgame and say that a number of breaches and violations past when Doctor Strange and Spider-Man tinkered with the runes of Call spell in No Way Home, when Wanda Maximoff and Doctor Strange dreamwalked in Multiverse of Madness, when Dar-Ben used the quantum bands and universal weapon to open the rift that left Monica Rambeau stranded in the X-Men universe in the Marvels, when the X-Men and Days of Future Past got away with altering their timeline, and or when Loki did what he did to allow the multiverse to exist not as a strictly pruned sacred timeline, but as a chaotically branching tree of eventualities. Maybe this movie is going to say that all of these things caused incursions and the deaths of universes, but there's some other force at play causing these 3 universes to collide.
I haven't seen the Captain Marvel movie with Monica Rambeau. I love Monica Rambeau though.
At the same time, like 2 Earths colliding, a natural accident, but 3 merging all at the same time without 2 bumping into each other first and then a 3rd one joining, that kind of feels like it was deliberate, someone nudging these 3 Earths together. Reed Richards would certainly view that as more than a coincidence. Over all of this, lasting through the end of the trailer, Thor gives this awesome angry speech that sounds more pissed off than Chris Hemsworth has ever sounded as a character. I fought with many warriors in my time. They were far stronger than all of us put together, and they died. They died facing enemies and threats that scare me far less than this one. Everything they sacrifice will be for nothing if we do not stand together. Put aside your petty squabbles. Presume nothing except this. If you return, you will return as brothers and sisters. But mark my words, we're going to need a miracle. The tone Chris Hemsworth strikes here is darker and more bitter than we've ever heard from him as Thor. Scolding, I would say. In fact, it's similar to his dad when he did this in the first Thor movie.
Father.
By these warriors, Thor's were...
So he's definitely going to act more, like, he's going to act more aggressive. I'm not mad at it, though. I think we all wanted this from Thor. I think we all wanted a more, like a more aggressive Thor, something like just the true to the mythology. And he's supposed to be aggressive. He's supposed to be not like no fucking around. And I guess I liked Love and Thunder a bit, but it definitely got way too goofy, like way too goofy. And I'm happy that they switched it up this time.
referring to Iron Man Tony Stark, Natasha Romanoff, Loki, Heimdall, Vision, Gamora, and I guess Jane Foster as well, in addition to all the heroes who died in Infinity War and Endgame and stayed dead. Thor also lost the Asgardians that other Avengers didn't get to know too well. You'll notice Thor still bears the scar on the left side of his face from where Hela slashed out his eye in Ragnarok, so those scars of the last Doomsday event of his people still sting. Ragnarok and Doomsday are, after all, synonyms, meaning the same apocalyptic thing. We see Namor sitting on his throne that we saw in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Mesoamerican runes forming the back and a giant megalodon jawbone framed around it. Black Panther Shuri and M'Baku, king of Wakanda, are there with all the Wakandan warriors facing off in Namor's throne room with all the blue-skinned Talokanil warriors. This Talokan throne room and the structure it's contained in are normally completely underwater in the bottom of the Caribbean Sea. Something has happened to bring it into this open air. In this throne room, as the camera pulls out, you can see Bucky, John Walker, Joaquin Torres, and Ghost on the left, and Sue and Ben on the right. And it's certainly more prominent in these desert shots throughout the trailer. There is a huge wall of water surrounding all of this. This part of the ocean floor has been completely drained, and the water's being pushed back by some mysterious force. What is this? Well, a theory that I've been chewing on lately is that what we're seeing here is actually in the void, the TVA multiversal dumping ground that we also saw in Deadpool and Wolverine. What we are seeing now is part of the 616 universe, the kingdom of Talokan, that has already been extracted from the 616 universe and relocated to this newly forming Earth that will become Battleworld. And so I think part of the movie of Doomsday will be fought on that foundation that we will see completed by the end of the movie and explored more fully in Secret Wars. Both Namor and Shuri seem to have traded resources since the peace they reached at the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Notice how Namor has a new high collar with black embroidery that could be Wakandan vibranium weave, while Shuri has some turquoise pieces in her new Black Panther armor that look like Talokanil vibranium. Thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. When the weather is and it feels like the days I'm in the biggest rush are on, BetterHelp is here with you. Then we see Thor landing in a trail of lightning in the same exterior location that we saw Doom in earlier, surrounded by broken statues and what looked like the broken Sentinel parts. We saw Cyclops battling these Sentinels in the third teaser and later in this trailer, and we've been assuming that this is in the gardens outside the X-Mansion. Specifically, Charles Xavier seems to be going through his classical statues phase. There's one on the bookshelf earlier inside, and there's some broken ones outside here. And we see the blade of Stormbreaker igniting with lightning as Thor marches toward Dr. Doom in the distance. Then we cut to the inside of the X-Mansion as the wooden planks of the main staircase get blown apart in an exploding fireball. This explosion is coming from underneath. Is this from a hallway or room?
Oh, wait. That explosion reminds me of it might have been Days of Future Past. Quicksilver scene. So it might be from below. I don't want. What's this? Cerebro. It might be from Cerebro.
On the other side of the staircase, or could it be coming from down below, like Cerebro or the Danger Room? Cyclops, James Marsden, steps forward in the next shot with the optic blast he emits through his ruby quartz lens eyepiece lighting up, making it seem like the blast was caused by him aiming at someone and not caring how much of his home mansion he's destroying, but I think it's from a different scene. Yes, as we saw in the December teaser, Cyclops is back to wearing the iconic accurate blue and yellow suit with the Y-strap utility belt. Again, this Open Your Eyes shirt is available on our merch store, nerdrite.shop. But then on the upper level of the mansion, Gambit, Remy LeBeau, Channing Tatum fights Shang-Chi, Simu Liu. Gambit looks just as he does from his first appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine, and Shang-Chi blocks his glowing purple staff and playing cards with his glowing orange 10 rings on his arms. Channing Tatum's Gambit was not a member of the X-Men in any of the Fox-era X-Men films that we saw. He had his own solo film that was in development hell, and in Deadpool and Wolverine, they made fun of that by implying that Gambit was a product of the Void itself. In the post-credit scene of Deadpool and Wolverine, we saw a screen in the background of the TVA that showed Gambit still alive, and in a deleted scene that would have shown that shot in close-up, we see it was the glow of a sparkling sling ring portal that got Gambit out of the Void. It would mean that someone, like Deadpool, using Cassandra Nova's sling ring, or someone else, rescued Gambit and let him live with the X-Men in the X-Mansion.
About Gambit's eyes, and I don't think it's obvious. It's just not that serious. It's just not that serious because you can with or without the eyes. I'm just happy Gambit's here. And he's just making his showcase. Yes, he could have glowing eyes. Yes, they would look cool, but it doesn't really fucking matter.
This seems to be part of the movie where the Avengers and other heroes coming from Earth 616 travel to the X-Mansion in Earth 10005 in hopes of getting something from the X-Mansion, and the X-Men there at the time are just going to put up a fight. We'll see more of these matchups later, but one that we don't see here but we know will happen based on interviews is a fight between Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler and Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards that will also reportedly involve Kelsey Grammer's Beast because the actor had to be on set for that day. So why are these groups fighting? The X-Men might be stinging after an earlier defeat and terrified of any superpowered people from one of these neighboring dimensions breaking into what's left of their house. I suspect this group of 616 heroes is trying to get to Cerebro. Now, why do I think we're going to see Cerebro again? Well, in this interview after CinemaCon, Kevin Feige said that it was emotional for him to revisit these sets that he used to work on as an associate producer 26 years ago.
Well, look, I think for fans, the notion of having the Avengers and X-Men together for the first time within our cinematic universe is incredibly exciting. It's been something that has been a long time coming. Yeah. For me personally, my career started in 1998 on that first X-Men film. So, you know, no spoilers, but there might be some sets that you recognize, some sets that you recognize from those original films, and being on those sets 26 years later with my now 12-year-old son was pretty emotional.
But the issue is this X-Mansion set seems to be a new design that looks nothing like the X-Mansion interior from any of the X-Men films that Feige would have worked on. So I think there is another set like Cerebro that we're going to see in this movie. And I think that's where the Reed Richards Nightcrawler Beast fight will take place. Reed might need to get to Cerebro for some purpose, maybe to locate his mutant son Franklin Richards, or maybe there's some power to Cerebro that can stop what Doom is doing to smash these three worlds together. And a new shot that was not in the April CinemaCon trailer, Loki! He's back to wearing his analyst outfit that he wore throughout the Disney Plus series, specifically starting in season 1, episode 2, with the jacket.
Best Disney Plus show ever. It's definitely my favorite of all time, and especially throughout like whatever Marvel has, it's definitely my favorite. I don't really think they have anything that tops that throughout every. I think I might just put this at the top of whatever Marvel show that there is. Might be a stretch, you might not agree with me, but that's just how I feel personally.
And the neatly brushed back hair. And we see what seems to be his Time Variance Authority ID badge. He did not have this in the Loki series, but the back of this card shows a tree, and I think this is the Yggdrasil Worlds tree that the Sacred Timeline shifted to become the embodiment of in the final episode of the Loki series. We had assumed that Loki was trapped on that throne as the god of stories holding everything together. Now, it looks like our man can still move around. This could be actually a flashback to some of Loki's earlier days when he was with the TVA. But the thing is, we just didn't really see that many montages throughout that Loki series when this movie could say he made a side quest somewhere else, with the exception of the season 2 thousands of years sequence. But specifically for those thousands of years, Loki was singularly focused on trying to avoid the temporal loom from exploding. And specifically, he didn't have that jacket anymore. Also, the TVA didn't yet have that Yggdrasil tree as part of its iconography. However, there were other posters throughout the TVA that referenced just the basic task of pruning branches. You'll see that his badge number is 414-620-701-401220. The Loki variant we followed in the Disney Plus series was L1130. This number didn't immediately jump out to me as any kind of numerological reference, but trust me, I'm going to be digging into it. So where is Loki here? What is he doing? Well, the sky outside that curtain is the same color orange, so I'm guessing he's on one of the Earths threatened by an incursion. Notice the person holding this ID badge is wearing a wedding band. Loki doesn't have a wedding band. He ain't married. This perfectly manicured hand must belong to Steve Rogers, which means that Loki has appeared in Steve's house, the house that we saw in the first Doomsday teaser where Steve had the baby, meaning that God of Stories Loki must be grasping a strand of time representing Steve's universe, and within that universe has taken the form of the all-business TVA analyst to explain to Steve that what he did caused an incursion, warning him of the doom to come. And I think he's giving Steve an ID badge to verify that he's not the evil villain that Steve remembers, but rather just a variant who has had a change of heart in the time that he has worked with the TVA. I mean, that'd be a crazy sequence of events for Steve Rogers, right? Going from everything.
Just imagining Steve looking at Loki again. That must be like the craziest shit of his life. Like, bro. Loki threw Iron Man out the window. But still, he said some really fucked up shit about Steve before.
That he went through an Endgame, going back in time, going back to the Battle of New York, fighting his doppelganger self, having a Tesseract stolen from that Loki, and that same Loki who got away with the Tesseract during Endgame is the one who now shows up on his doorstep to say, hey, you really done messed up with the multiverse. Then we see the other group of 616 heroes meeting Shuri and M'Baku in the water-cleared, ocean-floored desert. We see Ben Grimm, Sue Storm, John Walker, Bucky, Joaquin Torres, Falcon, and Ava Star Ghost are there. But if half of the heroes we saw in Avengers Tower go to the X-Mansion, I think this other half goes to Talokan, or the part of Talokan that's now in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Who the fuck is this over here? I really do not know who that is.
Now, what else might be important about Talokan specifically? Well, in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we saw some kind of glowing energy source coming out of that underwater structure of Talokan that was part of a deleted sequence that they didn't explore more fully in the movie. Since there was no natural sunlight that reached that ocean floor, I think they're drawing that power from the planet's core, the same planet core that Reed Richards has on the screen in the Avengers Tower penthouse. So I think Dr. Doom might be using that same energy source, and they just need to control it maybe to reverse the incursions. Back in the mansion, we see Reed Richards in his white jacket, his arm stretched out to restrain Sam's shield. Shang-Chi stands behind Reed, and the robot Herbie is to the right of Sam. I mean, Herbie even being there with them supports my theory that Reed needs some extra tech support to hack into Cerebro. On the window, you can see the Charles Xavier family crest with the blue X, from which Charles likely derived the X-Men logo. And you can also see the Latin motto of Fiat Lux Fiat Vis, or let there be light, let there be strength. The first word spoken by God in the book of Genesis to breathe existence into the universe, and a prayer that mankind, and perhaps mutant kind, will have the strength to survive. But dipping beneath Reed's outstretched arm, limbo style, is Yelena Belova, gun drawn, and we see her opponent, Mystique. Rebecca Romijn is back playing shapeshifter Raven Darkholme. Jennifer Lawrence took over the character as they explore the younger era of the X-Men in the later films. So the way Days of Future Past left the timeline altered, older Mystique never got depowered in the events of X-Men The Last Stand, and she was still part of Magneto's mutant brotherhood that now seems to be in alliance with the X-Men. Actually, technically, she would still be posing as Senator Kelly. She has an updated appearance, shorter red hair and a white top instead of defaulting to nude, and a lighter blue skin with dark spots. But the way she shapeshifts remains the layered scales effect that always looks so good, far better than any of the granular scroll shapeshifting that the MCU attempted years later. Mystique catches Yelena's baton and shapeshifts into her. So now we have two Yelenas with their hands around each other's throats, a similar visual to what Yelena had to go through in her Void of Shame in Thunderbolts. Charles Xavier emotionally embraces Ian McKellen's Magneto. There have been various reports that we will see Magneto destroy New Jersey in this movie from Ian McKellen himself in a few interviews, but Joe Russo and Kevin Feige told Entertainment Weekly that McKellen might have
blow this city up. Isn't that where that shit is going?
Folk saying, I don't think he destroys New Jersey, but there's a New Jersey presence. But if that does happen, it would be a reference to the 2009 Ultimatum story when Magneto reverses Earth's polarity. A lightning storm appears above New York City and a tsunami wipes out Manhattan. Scott Lang kisses the forehead of his daughter Cassie Lang. Catherine Newton confirmed that she will also be joining the cast of the film. And the fact that both of these characters are in this movie suggests to me that they're going to have to at least in part reference the conflict with Kang the Conqueror from Quantumania. I don't think they're going to say the name Kang, but I think they're
Jonathan Majors back everything.
Going to refer to those other events generally. Then we see Johnny Storm hugging his sister Sue. There's a fiery light engulfing them. So maybe we're seeing the end of the movie, the beginnings of the horrific things that Dr. Doom does to Johnny Storm as Battleworld forms. He turns Johnny Storm into the literal son of this world. Then two shots of the ocean-cleared desert region suggest that Sue Storm is nodding to Shuri as she does the Wakandan salute and boards the Royal Wakandan ship. Then Sam Wilson lands on the floor of the X-Mansion during this fight with the X-Men. Gambit flips from the high balcony and strikes his glowing staff on the ground, causing a purple shockwave at the feet of Shang-Chi. On the floor around him are Sam Wilson, Mystique, who's still fighting Yelena, and Reed Richards. Then the shot that ended teaser number 3, Cyclops angrily releases a wide aperture optic blast as Sentinels stomp around him. One severed Sentinel head is to the right here. Why does Cyclops seem so hopeless? Well, there's some thought that Doom might have taken his son or daughter, Nathan Summers, aka Cable or Rachel Summers. Sue looks drained here as she emits her force field as the wall of seawater churns around her. And then we see Namor flying fast around that wall of the cleared out area. I think they might be trying to extract this Talokan region from the newly forming Battleworld, and I think they're gonna fail. Then the money shot of the trailer. Thor recreates his epic leap and the attack with the same weapon that he used against Thanos in Infinity War, and even this time smartly aims for the head. Stormbreaker was designed to be a god killer and did surpass the combined.
So do you guys think that they're gonna find out that Tony is under there? And I wonder what kind of Doom might be. It's not gonna be a two-parter, but then what is Secret Wars gonna be? I wonder if they do find out that Tony is under there. Is that gonna be in the first part or second part or what part? Or are they even gonna find out at all? Is it just some shit we know? Now they gotta find out.
Power of all 6 Infinity Stones. So for Dr. Doom to simply stop all of that power with just 2 armored fingers, it gives us a sense of the power scale compared to Thanos. Actually, speaking of Thanos, God Emperor Doom memorably does this to Thanos in Secret Wars number 8. In a 2025 Shanghai Disney Expo laser show depicted Dr. Doom doing the same thing to Thanos. So we might see it in this movie. If you're interested, like I am.
I would actually stand up and start I'd probably stand up in the theater for the first time and start clapping my hands. I'll be like, I always like that my theater, every time I go to a Marvel movie, is actually lit. I love that. And I really hope if they do this, it's lit again, because I'm gonna stand up and start clapping.
And revisiting Thanos in Avengers Infinity War. New Rockstars is like 35 episodes deep in our Road to Doomsday weekly Marvel rewatch podcast series. Specifically, this Saturday morning, we're going to be revisiting Avengers Infinity War. So be sure to watch that episode and all the past episodes, because trust me, we've been having some interesting conversations there. So Doom even blocking Thor's lightning like this might be recreating Billy Tan's artwork for Thor number 605 from 2009. In this storyline, Thor avenges his Asgardian people after Doom experimented on them in Latveria. And notice the rune on Doom's gauntlet. Doom rune! This is the same symbol that was on Doom's throne at the recent Bilibili World event in Shanghai this year, and the rune that was projected with green lasers at that Shanghai Disney Expo last year. And I think this is the deeper magic that Doom knows that overpowers all types of science and magic from our heroes. And notice how each corner of that rune has 2 antlers or pincers. Doesn't that look like Loki's crown? I think this is a clue that Doom either has or can absorb God of Stories Loki's powers over reality warping. This is the clearest shot of the Dr. Doom mask and Robert Downey Jr. underneath it. You can see his clear green eyes glaring angrily at Thor. And then the trailer ends with this moment.
We're going to need a miracle. Hey, pal. It's not possible.
Chris Evans' Steve Rogers is back. Casual Friday. Yes, recreating the most iconic moment from Avengers Endgame. This is a cracked/broken Mjolnir that was reassembled after Hela's destruction in Ragnarok by Jane Foster in Thor: Love and Thunder. If you look closely, you can see Johnny.
I didn't know that it was cracked. No, I knew it was cracked, but I didn't know that was the one that was cracked. I thought it was I actually thought it was one that wasn't cracked that was fixed. So I kept thinking to myself that, okay, that's not the same one, so he got a better one, but it's cracked.
Storm standing behind Steve looks like this is on the Fantastic Four ship. How did Steve get back with Thor here? Well, when Steve chose to stay behind with Peggy Carter in the late 40s at the end of Avengers Endgame, that decision, according to the Russo brothers when Endgame came out, caused a branch timeline to form. Steve lived his new life with Peggy Carter in a branch history that we never saw. I have read and listened to literally every interview given by the Russo brothers over the past 10 years, and I can confirm that they use the terms timeline and universe and reality interchangeably. In their logic, Steve staying with Peggy caused a new universe to form. And the theory I discussed in this video is that Steve's decision caused the creation of what we would later call the 828 universe, the universe of the Fantastic.
So if Steve went back to go fix that, that means that he lived inside the same timeline where he is currently, or at least the younger version of himself is still there, frozen in ice. So basically, Steve is there cracking Peggy, and then his frozen, barely life full of body is frozen inside of an iceberg. So this is mostly kind of all fucking Steve's fault. I'm just saying, because it's like, you know, you're sitting around here acting like shit's cool, and we know what kind of shit this can cause. So I'm confused as to why Steve thought that was, you know what, fuck it. He said he was like, I've done enough. I want to get my cue.
4. I like the idea that Steve being around to help S.H.I.E.L.D. defeat Hydra in the late 40s and 50s and warn world powers against developing hydrogen bombs would have led to the peaceful 60s that the Fantastic Four inherited and enabled world peace via the Future Foundation. This could be a universe where Robert Downey Jr., instead of playing the hero Tony Stark in the 21st century, ended up just being born as a Latvian named Dr. Doom. Now,
but this also doesn't make sense to me as well, because wouldn't Steve have gotten, or did he just make sure nobody discovered his past body? Did he just make sure? Because S.H.I.E.L.D. found him, right? Or somebody found him. So I'm assuming maybe he knew where he was and he just made sure nobody found him. Because even if his self died, he wouldn't have died since he's from a separate timeline. So that wouldn't have really affected him. So what happened to that other version of himself that is supposed to appear at some point?
Before you say, wait, wouldn't there only be history? Ended up just being born as a Latvian named Dr. Doom. Now, before you say, wait, wouldn't there only be history from 1949 onwards? No, I think in a new universe, it kind of back retcons a completed history that led up to that. The arguments against this theory are that if the 828 universe forward by branching off of the 616 from the year 1949, both universes should have the same history of World War II and before, right? And if Dr. Doom comes from the 828 universe, he couldn't also be a Tony Stark variant, because in the 616 MCU, Tony Stark was born to Howard Stark in the year 1970. To that, I would say, We don't yet know how this Doctor Doom really came about. We also don't know what logic the Russos are going to say branch timelines and universes follow when it comes to filling out the past history of a parallel universe. The nature of Steve's choice to stay behind could have just resulted in some magical cosmic side effect, where the anchor being's soul that found its body in Tony Stark in the 616 universe just found its body in someone named Victor Von Doom in this newly formed 828 history. But if Steve had been living in the 828 universe since Endgame, it's not too hard to trace the timeline through the early 60s, where that could have been him with his slightly older son watching that Fantastic Four cartoon show in that montage sequence in the Fantastic Four First Steps film to the year 1969 to 1970 in this branch timeline when the Fantastic Four's mid-credits scene takes place, the point where he looks somewhat older and joined Thor and the Fantastic Four on their way back to the 616 Earth. At CinemaCon, the press release stated that actor Wesley Holloway was also in the cast, and I think he might be playing Steve's son after this time has passed, someone I think could be named James or Jimmy after James Buchanan Barnes. Either way, we know that Steve will have to end his journey sometime after the events as a very old man handing the shield back to Sam Wilson. That'll be a crazy time loop because Sam in this movie will have a memory of older Steve that Steve in this movie hasn't experienced yet. Either way, when Thor says it's impossible as he looks at Steve, I don't think he's talking about Steve being alive again, because Thor at this point would have experienced crazy enough time travel and multiversal hopping. But I do think he's reacting to Steve telling him that their fallen friend of Tony Stark is a variant by another name. Also, it's possible that Thor is reacting to the face of Tony Stark right here on this ship with them, when Victor might be coming to them as a friend offering to help with these incursions. Like maybe removed from all these earlier shots of the Marvel heroes and Avengers meeting with each other, there is like a variant of Tony Stark who's pretending like he's their friend when he's gonna stab them in the back very soon. Or maybe when Thor fights the masked Doctor Doom, at first he doesn't connect who it is until he looks into his eyes. Despite seeing the other shot of Loki in this trailer, I think that we're gonna see Thor and Steve and maybe even Robert Downey Jr.'s seemingly heroic friend head to the TVA with Sentry, and that's when Doctor Doom is gonna switch sides and use Sentry as his conduit to channel Loki, God of Story's power, to absorb it and give himself the power to manipulate reality. So Chris Evans and Catherine Newton are just two MCU hero names that were not initially confirmed by Marvel in 2025 to be in the cast. So if they're coming back, you know other surprise heroes will as well. On Easter, Robert Downey Jr. posted this Easter egg art that included the sigils of Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. But the fact that Marvel already released the CinemaCon trailer now here on Monday shows that they're gonna have even bigger reveals this Saturday at CinemaCon. That could be other cast members that they haven't confirmed yet. New Rockstars is going to be covering everything at CinemaCon, specifically with a live stream covering Marvel Studios Hall H panel on Saturday afternoon. We're gonna start live streaming at 4 p.m. Pacific time, but we're also gonna have live streams on Thursday and Friday as well. So subscribe to New Rockstars, join us for those live streams. Jessica and I will be there in San Diego reporting live on the scene while the rest of the team anchors the desk back here at New Rockstars HQ. I'm gonna be talking about this trailer a lot in the days ahead. Comment down below with your thoughts on it, and a special thanks to one of our in our underground subscribers.
I definitely think that Doom is going to maybe like piggybacking off him. Maybe he might reveal himself, but I have that thing in the back of my mind where it's like I don't know if he will, only because I'm not sure if Marvel will do that to us, making him reveal himself. But it just doesn't make sense for him not to reveal himself. So I'm tripping off that. But it is what it is.